Morning, everyone. As I introduced earlier, I'm Arun Vasudevan. I'm from Expedia Group. I'm here to talk about how we use the Datahub within Expedia Group. Uh, as some of you might know, Expedia Group is comprised of multiple brands like Verbo and Hotels.com, Expedia.com, to name a few. There are many more brands. So it's basically the task of our group was to show, like, to make all this data to be viewable, discoverable, and experimentable at one place. So today's agenda was mainly like so. For that task, the metadata platform was the core part of the thing to help data engineers and data scientists to discover the data and also to do experimentation on it. So the agenda for today is mainly some of the analysis that we did around the existing metadata platforms and how we landed up with DataHub, and a slight tweak on the architecture of DataHub internally for us, and some of the enhancements that we did and some contributions that we did back to the community, and a demo of our metrics and the UI and what's in it for the future. So, looking at the analysis, so sometime late last year, like around October, we looked at all the platforms that's existing, like Ground, or Netflix Metacat, Lyft Amundsen, and also Apache Atlas. The main requirement that we had mainly was stream first. So though Atlas wasn't stream first, they was designed for the batch. But they had a stream endpoint. So we started with that uh, to get started, and what we found was the entity model was really good, and that was working out for us to add new entities. So we added a new entity for Kafka for streaming platforms, and we were also able to establish lineage models. Those were good too. So it was working out for us until we found out the blocker during a performance test, wherein like our requests were like getting more than like 400 millisecond, and the concurrent users, it wasn't able to support more than like 400 or so concurrent users. The issue was like, one is that, but if we were able to go into the architecture and open up, that's where we are trying to do. Like, does it have high availability? So when we looked at the high availability, their high availability was just active passive architecture, wherein like only one instance was available, was active at any point of time. The other instance would always redirect to the active. So that didn't help us. So we were looking for, and Atlas was also like a monolith application because it was designed well back, and build times were significantly high that slowed our changes too. So we were looking for something else. So at that time, we found out the ODPI Egeria. That's mainly an open data platform initiative. So the advantage that the point that we found there was they had like an open metadata repository service wherein like you can have multiple repositories plug into it, and it has a concept wherein like the metadata lives closer to the data, wherein like each of the data sources will have their own metadata repository, and each area would know about all these metadata repositories, and it would support a federated search showing data across all these repositories. So it sounded good on the paper. When we started to do the POC, the documentation was really cumbersome. It was all over the place, and we had issues with the feature set, wherein like the Atlas Egeria Atlas connector was reading it from Atlas, but it did not have the ability to write it back. And Also, like in terms of the architecture, it was making the whole architecture much more complex for our small team to manage. We are about 4 to 6 engineers now. So for us to manage with all this additional complexity, we weren't comfortable. So at that point is where we were looking out, and then we saw LinkedIn's Data Hub announced as an open source. We quickly did a POC with a Docker quick start, and it was quick to figure things out. The documentation was good enough for us to start, and then we went into like figuring out what more things that we need to productionize it. I'll go through the list in my next slides. And then currently, as of March 2020, we have it in production. We are still improving on the feature sets and additional things that we can deliver, but we have it running in production. From the architecture standpoint, it's very closer to what open source is, other than for a small tweak down there. So currently, our streaming platforms, data lake, push metadata change event into the MCE topic, which is read by the consumer and pushes to the MySQL, which generates an MAE event too at the difference, and that gets pushed into Neo4j and Elastic through the MAE job. So the tweak here is the front end in the open source looks at GMS to read from all the data sources. In our case, we have a front end service, which is a Neo4j app, a node app, which directly reads from all these data sources. So this helped us to quickly get it up and running, and also get the features rolled up fast. So from the enhancements side of it, so we saw the fail. We were like, after productionizing, we were trying to make it much more resilient in terms of any failed events to be to be available on a metrics on a dashboard, and the data sources to know it. At that time, we saw the failed MCE was available in the LinkedIn's open source, but it was not implemented. So that was the first commit that we did. And after that, Ryan Holstein from my team did a Gradle fix for the parallel run. And last week, converted both the MAE and MCE to Spring Boot. These three are already committed back to the open source as of now. And these are the other features that we added. We are like working on some things. If the community find its priority, we can bump it up. So optimizing the build time, Ryan optimized the build time internally for us. It's much more efficient. We don't run the front end builds though, but even excluding that, our build times are much faster. He did some tweaks on the Gradle builds. I think he's looking at pushing that to open source too sometime soon. And we also have upgraded our Elasticsearch version to 7, and we also have a Canary app, which mainly pushes us very trimmed down MCE event into our topic and tries to check if everything is working. If not, it alerts us. It's more like first to know, apparently even before the producers starts to see the errors, we would see through this Canary. And we also have a metadata validators, which are mainly like soft validations on top of our the data that's available on the GMS. So these are mainly validations to improve or give visibility to everyone in terms of how the data is for the producers, and then they can slowly improve on it through iteration. We also add changes to error and validation metrics. So now that I pushed the MA and MCE enabling metrics in the open source, this change might be easier to push. This would enable, like, whenever a failed MCE is pushed, it also pushes a metric for it in terms of both success and errors. We also enabled metrics in GMS too. These are like some high-level changes. Other than that, we did some minor changes in terms of changing the schema to enable sensitivity at a field level from a data governance standpoint. And also we use HashiCorp's Vault. So it's mainly from a secrets provider per se. We had some enhancements inside for that. So with all that background, I'll jump into the demo. So as I said earlier, this is our Node app. This is our metadata explorer. This is our landing page. We have various explorers here. So I'll now start with our metadata explorer, searching for a specific data set. I created a data set for our townhall. So it's mainly, once I search the data set, you see that it has a type ahead search, and the data set is already tagged by the platform. It's a streaming event, and it's also tagged by the environment. You can look at all the other tags that's available in terms of the owners and what is the system of record. Stream registry is another open source from Expedia Group, which is mainly pushing the streaming related events wherein everyone registers their streams as part of it. So it also gives the endpoint for the UI for the brands that the data belongs to and stuff like that. So once all this data is tagged, we also have the schema versioning. So you could see the schema has been changed for a specific column from company to an organization or something like that. These are the schema versioning features. And other than that, the lineage is as of now available in the backend. It's still being worked on in the front end here. You could see in the LinkedIn's UI, we do show the lineage for the data set. So moving from that, the next stop is the metrics. This is the metrics for like a day of how we get the data in terms of the successful records we have, around 18 million records for the data lake and 9 million for the streaming. And if there are any errors, that shows up here. And we also have another dashboard to show the details of the errors and helping the platforms to debug that. And this was the earlier thing that I said about the soft validations. These are like, say if a field was missing an owner, we would show up in the count here so that the platforms can enrich that data and slowly improve the quality on it. These are not enforced validations as of now. This is same for other like cost tracking fields, or if some field from data is missing a brand or field descriptions, this would also pop up here.
Hey,
So
Arun, quick question. Is there any interest or concern from you guys about understanding issues throughout the collection pipeline? Do you think that should be part of this product, and in terms of like duplication, corruption, missing, because you talk about missing data at the end, right?
no, this is right at the start. So we added a metrics at the MCE, which is the entry point for
Okay.
for the data hub. So this is showing the metrics from that. So this is right when the data enters the system, and probably when it's stored in the GMS. That's when we do these metrics. But as I said, these are as of now we have it as informational. Uh, so what you are saying is more like a health check all around the system, how the data moves through, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about situations I've encountered where like debugging where the data went wrong is a problem.
Yeah, we haven't tackled that problem. We do have that. Basically, like a tracing sort of a feature, wherein like where in the pipeline currently the data is and what could we do about it. Yeah, that's probably a good feature to add, but that might be a good thing to have in open source, but we don't have it right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have thought about it, but
Yeah.
currently we haven't put anything in for distributed trace.
So that was for the demo, and the future of what we are like currently working on, and for the future is mainly like complete our data lineage, because our front end still needs that tweak. We are also working on the ML models. We would like to have some help from LinkedIn, but I know I saw somewhere in the blogs that they have the ML models already internally tested out. We would, because we had a good head start with the MCE, we would like to get something to start with for the ML models. And we are also looking at data preview, looking at a short, like 10 records or something from each of the data sources, so that for anyone exploring the data could get a good overview of it. And we are also working on a data quality and the data profiling features as well. That's all in the future. We have a few things for this OKR to add to it. That's it from me. Are there any questions? Are there anything else that you want me to cover in more detail? Feel free to let me know.
So I think Pardhu wanted to know if the metrics that you meant, was it the business metrics or you were talking about? I think you meant the health metrics, but if you could just clarify.
Yeah, these are like our data metrics mainly, like how any data that gets pushed into the system from just to look at it for us to.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just to know if things flow in the system, if things look okay, putting up the health standpoint.
So that is more from, will your data consumers be interested in that?
Data producers are interested for sure, because they want to know how their data is in terms of the quality, and if there are any errors, they could see it. As of now, I'm not sure if the consumers would be interested.
Got it.
Because the consumers don't. I think it's mainly for the platform and for the producers. Consumers don't bother that much about it. For them, we have the other ways to improve, like the data quality pictures.
Hey Arun, are any of these contributions merged into master? Maybe that's more of a question for LinkedIn as to what the pattern is for these types of contributions.
Yeah, these three, the ones in green, are already merged to the master. So LinkedIn team quickly reviews and merges. I'm very happy with their review cycles. So these three have been merged already, and yeah, I'll let Mars or someone talk more.
Yeah, we welcome all pull requests coming in, and depending on the size of it, the review cycle might be longer or shorter, obviously. But we're trying our best to do a quick turnaround, and there are contributions that are obviously easy to merge, right? For example, optimizing the build time and all that will be very little controversy around it. People will just accept if it works, right? The thing that comes to do with models and all the other stuff, metadata models, it might get a little bit trickier, because we try to make sure that it's a little bit generic, that works across the board. But and then that's one of the reasons we're seeing fewer contributions in the department. I'm pretty sure Arun and his team has already evolved the model a little bit to accommodate additional information as shown in the UI. So we still welcome those contributions, but I think those contributions will be a little bit harder to merge in some sense. But we do want to get to a good place where all of these things can come in easily and can be merged easily, and people get to choose what they want. Right? Because some people may not care about all these additional stuff that company XYZ care about, but it will be obviously a large portion of common interests, and hopefully we can merge those in very quickly as well.
We have a question from Sarah. Do you want to ask yourself, Sarah, for Arun? This is a question for Arun.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to understand, like, you got it pretty quickly into production. How did you think about like what sources to bring in first, or just how far into that deployment you're in?
Yeah, so as I said, the main intention for us to like look for a data source was like stream first is our like so that everybody gets a quick idea of it. So the first platforms that we looked at was the Kafka for our streaming sources, so that we get a good like entry of all this data. And thankfully, we already had a stream registry, which is one of our other open source projects, which helps in registering all the streams to Kafka. So we added more endpoints like an additional mapper to transform that incoming data into push an event to Datahub. And once that is in, streaming is in, then we looked at data lake because that's the major part of the data. And once those two sources are tackled, then we slowly went down to the NoSQL sources and other conventional sources. We are still tackling that, but once we have the streaming and the data lake, we have the major part of the data in the data hub.
That makes sense. And what open source stream registry did you use?
No, stream registry is itself an open source project.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't know about it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's something.
Oh, it's something you guys built. Cool.
Yeah, we guys built and open sourced it. That was my whole team. So this is something we use internally for registering our streams.
Great. Shashanka, you have a question you want to directly ask Arun?
Yeah. Hey, I was mainly asking with respect to the ML models that you were asking about.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any specific ML libraries or workflows that you're using for training and deployment that you are willing to share? Just because that might mean either the way we are doing it will directly be compatible, or it won't.
I have further meetings with the data science team to understand more. I currently don't have a lot of visibility around that, but I think the team mainly uses an implementation of the Jupyter Hub that they can use it for storing the results, and also like a Docker implementation of Jupyter Hub, so that they can quickly get the models or get the results running. But I don't know a lot of details. Probably I'll interact with you on Slack once I know more, or if you could give me some options, I can go back to our data science team.
Sure. Sounds good. Thanks.
So the questions have been coming for Arun. Another one is from Kiran, and this will be the last one that we'll take. And after that,
where are you seeing the questions? Am I missing it? I don't see it.
It's actually on the Blue Jeans chat. Yeah, we had requested everyone to use the Slack AMA, but it seems that this is more convenient, so it's fine. Okay. So Kiran, quickly ask your question and then try to wrap it.
Thanks for this great presentation, Arun, first of all. My question is around, you decided to develop your own UI rather than using Datahub UI. So I would like to understand, I know the background reason, very little, I don't have all the details. The second question is, in your diagram, I saw that instead of hitting to REST APIs on GMS side, you directly collect the data from DB, Neo4j, and Elastic. What was the reason for that as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the reasons are more like around we have the initiative for the front end that ran as we did the metadata discovery. So the front end was like a common a content repository of like multiple components that they built along with the user design team. So it was not just for the metadata UI, but in general for all our like the supply attributes or for any of the destination attributes. So it's like one common place for all the different teams to have their UI, and ours naturally fits into that UI model. So it's mainly from an organizational standpoint that we already have a UI that we recently built with React and a Node that is really interacting with the design team, with the components and stuff. So we didn't want to let go of that UI, and it had much more features, and the team is also looking to add more features to it. The LinkedIn's UI was really good for us to explore the data, and we still use it internally when we have the data to discover, but it was not for our customers because the customers wanted something more native within EG's component repositories. So that was one. For the second question you had, because we had the UI that was in Node, we were having issues with the RESTly endpoints. Ryan can talk more about it because I think he was the one debugging that part of it. So we had some issues with the RESTly having to go in and change the way the responses are being sent, and we weren't much comfortable with the RESTly itself. So we went directly to the data sources. It helped us to move faster. Ryan, do you want to talk more about that problem with the RESTly you had?
Yeah, sure. So internally, we use a special Mesos Plus. So we have a little thing we've built called MPAS that sends us through a few different hops through edge networks and what have you. That stuff's not the important part, but basically what we were seeing was that through those hops, the URI encoding of how the requests are set up through RESTly was being handled in a strange way. That's mainly due to how the earn is set up in the query params and its usage of colons and other non-URI encodable, like you have to encode them and decode them in specific ways for RESTly to handle it properly. So I had essentially written up a quick hack to be able to have that work within our system, and we didn't really want to have that as how we were operating. We wanted to have it work through our system in a bit of a more clean way. The other reason why the front end went directly to those sources was just as a time saver. It was a lot easier for them to write up a few quick endpoints rather than dig through a lot of RESTly documentation and implement that into the front end, since a lot of the benefit of RESTly is you using it as your whole system. It seems like LinkedIn basically uses that for everything. So you'll have a lot of this auto generation of things for the front end endpoints and utilization of all of that. But since it's not well integrated into how our system was working, it was more logical to have them just, spin up a few endpoints to be able to hit those data sources directly. Hopefully that answers that question.
Sure. Yeah, we can probably discuss more on that points on GitHub or Slack if you want to solicit our help on debugging that further. But I think in the interest of time, we'll probably need to wrap this. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arun and team, and also Larry for taking time to give this demo. I know it takes a lot of time and effort to prepare. So yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up. We have questions on the sign-up sheet. For those whose questions we didn't answer, please take time to put it on the sign-up sheet, and we will certainly get back with a doc with all the answers. And if I have clarifying questions, I'll reach out on Slack as well. And yeah, I mean, the next town hall meeting will be a month from now. We are trying to do monthly as opposed to bi-weekly. So stay tuned for more demos. And yeah, any other closing thoughts anyone would like to add from the LinkedIn team or otherwise from outside?
Thank you, Arun. This is a great demo.
Yeah, thanks for all the people who demoed this. I know it's a huge amount of effort that you guys put into it, so we really appreciate your time and your effort.
Great. I'll share the recording, and yeah, hope to see you all again in the next town hall meeting. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.